Happy New Year, Seminoles fans. It's been a good start to 2024 already. We're just a few hours into 2024, and Florida State has its quarterback for 2024, a bridge quarterback in DJ Uiagalelei. Get used to pronouncing that name or just saying DJU because he is now a Florida State Seminole. He has announced on social media Monday afternoon. Welcome to the Osceola Seminole Sidelines, joined by senior writer Curt Weiler. I'm editor Bob Ferrante. A few things to unpack. We'll keep it as a short show. We know you've got busy times with your family, your friends. You want to watch a lot of football games. The playoffs are coming this afternoon, this evening. So we'll kind of get you in and out here with just some of our quick thoughts. But again, during this process of the transfer portal, Curt wrote about DJU and Cam Ward coming to Tallahassee. Did a little bit of a film deep dive on both those guys. And again, today, Cam Ward has passed up on Miami. He's going to turn pro, whereas Florida State lands DJU. So, Curt, your thoughts after watching those guys on film and what DJ could bring to this Florida State offense?
Yeah, I think Florida State played this pretty well. I guess, I think they were lucky. We can kind of start with the process. I think they were lucky in a sense of DJ either felt pretty locked in on Florida State being kind of his number one option, or, because we didn't really hear about many other schools during the process for him. It felt like Florida State was where he wanted to be. Florida State, it felt like, kept him on the burner a little bit because there was the unresolved nature of what was going on with Cam Ward. But yes, Cam Ward declaring for the draft and Florida State landing its quarterback within hours of each other, and Cam Ward not ending up at Miami kind of feels like a best case scenario, I think, all around for Florida State. I think, frankly, I think Florida State fans who were in attendance at Doak Campbell Stadium last night probably saw one of DJ Uiagalelei's best games of his college career with the game he had here, 2 years ago, his last year at Clemson. He, I thought, did a really good job and was very effective, and that kind of showed. I think, frankly, he was a scapegoat for a lot of the issues at Clemson when there was more going wrong there, far beyond him. And even when, they moved on from him and he transferred to Oregon State, even this year with Cade Klubnik, that offense wasn't magically fixed. It is proven to me that wasn't about DJ. And I think if you just look purely at the base stats for DJ, I'm not sure you will be blown away by a market improvement on there. But I think a deeper dive, I retweeted a David Hale tweet, points out, his air yards per throw, how much he was throwing the ball downfield, how much he was averaging per pass attempt. Those numbers rose up considerably last season at Oregon State. Frankly, I think the deep passing game was a major part of his game and something he did very effectively. And obviously that's something we've seen Mike Norvell wants used in his offense. I think a big thing too, as much as some people clamored for Jordan Travis to run the ball, you were always a little worried just because of his frame. He's not the biggest dude. I think he was always listed at 205 or 210. And you were always kind of like, is that even? It almost felt like that might have been overstating it a bit. DJ is certainly athletic enough to carry out the running aspects, but he's also, let me pull up his ESPN has him listed at 6'4", 252. If that's not a true battering ram of a quarterback who Oregon State didn't really use in the run game very much, but Clemson did, and I think will be a major part of how he's used in his one season here as well. I think he just kind of checks all the boxes. And like you said, I think is going to be a bridge where, I think we saw the last two games, Brock Glenn's potential, well, also that he may not be ready to be thrown into the deep end. You wouldn't expect a true freshman Luke Kromenhoek to get thrown into the deep end. I think this is great now where those two get to learn from another guy for Brock and a guy for Luke who has played a lot of college football, get to learn under him for a year. And those two, I think we expect are going to battle it out in 2025. So I think it's kind of a best case scenario all around. I think he's won the ACC before. It's hard not to imagine. That's kind of, I think, your baseline goal. Not that, because the truth is, winning the ACC nowadays probably means a spot in the 12-team playoff 95% of the time. So I think he's a guy who can get you there if you put the right players around him.
Yeah, the ball game with a 12-team playoff in 2024 is give yourself a fighting chance to win that conference title. We know this is a quarterback-centric sport. Whether you love what you've seen from DJU at Clemson or Oregon State, whether you challenge the Pac-12 defenses, This is about DJU and how he looks in the Florida State offense with that personnel. We have to feel that gives Florida State a good chance moving forward to challenge a Clemson, a Louisville, all those ACC powers in an unusual schedule yet again. And we'll see how this all plays out. Curt, you did bring up Brock and Luke Kromenhoff. We'll talk briefly about those guys. Brock's a guy we like, having watched him in practice. He's 18 years old. He's competitive. He's composed. He didn't look great in his 2 starts. Part of that is his preparation. It's not the same. Part of it is personnel. It wasn't the same in the Orange Bowl. Part of it is just it's your first couple of starts. I can remember Jordan Travis's first couple of practices, and it didn't look great either.
Yep.
This is not a sell on Brock Glenn. This is a bridge to the future. We have to emphasize that very strongly. Curt, you saw Brock firsthand in Charlotte, in Miami Gardens. Just put it in perspective. I know the numbers don't look good, but just in perspective, maybe what you've seen from Brock, where he improved maybe too from Charlotte to Miami, those kind of progressions that you've seen.
I mean, I thought there was especially that stretch there in the second quarter where I thought he looked much more comfortable. We kind of saw what we've seen in glimpses of in practice throughout this season, really. I mean, as much as we get to watch, we've seen a lot of Brock, and we've seen the freshman moments. We've also seen some moments of brilliance. I mean, I think that Georgia defense is better than that Louisville defense. It was mostly intact. They were down a few starters, but I mean, they were pretty intact, and also, I mean, just incredibly deep, because that's just when you recruit like Georgia does, that's what happens. And I mean, I thought there was one play where, it wasn't something I thought Brock had in him, where it was a pretty immediate pass rush pressure got to him, and I thought was going to be dead to rights. Escapes the pocket, scrambles, and has a really nice throw on the run to, I think that might have been to, I don't remember if that was Kentron or who that was, maybe Darion Williamson. He had, I thought, a few really nice throws on the run, moves well enough for sure, and that one deep shot to Kentron that set up the field goal. I mean, that was everything you wanted to see. I mean, I think you still saw just minor inaccuracy things, probably throwing to guys he hasn't thrown to a ton in practice this season. I mean, the freshman is probably who he's been throwing to a lot, and the freshmen were in the rotation, but it was a lot of Kentron, a lot of Ja'Kai Douglas, obviously some Wildcat to kind of ease things for him. But I thought he looked much more comfortable, and I thought it was and the truth of the matter is, maybe I guess he had a little more time to know he's the starter. He didn't know all bowl, like the whole bowl prep, he was going to be the starter. He found out week of, basically. I mean, I think he found out probably Christmas Day, I have to imagine. So, yeah, I thought especially given, I mean, it was not a weeks of preparation thinking he was going to be the starter type guy. It was much better. I mean, it was the score or the stat line or any of that are not like really fair things to even bring up in this. But I think I saw enough to be encouraged about his future.
100%.
But also, I guess
agree.
the thing is, I think it's probably for the best that he's not going to be called upon in 2024. I think both those things can be true.
But as college football has shown us this year and other years, you are as good as your backup quarterback is to some extent. You need a guy who's ready to fill in. And there might be some games where you can sneak in a Brock Glenn too. There may be some opportunities where you get him a good amount of playing time. There may be some opportunities. We'll see how that shakes out. A storyline for us to follow, down the road. But another storyline we are, of course, following happily. I think you need some good news after what happened Saturday, but the Battle's End is beginning to announce a number of the players who will be coming back for 2024. And Monday afternoon, it was a trio, right? It was Patrick Payton, Darius Washington, Maurice Smith, not in that order of how they tweeted them out. But I think in some terms, it's who you put around the quarterback. So it is about the offensive line. It's about retaining those talented guys up front. We talked about Darius Washington, a 37-game starter, and at 3 different spots along that offensive line. Maurice Smith has been very valuable as a center through the years. And Patrick Payton, of course, after you lose Jared Verse, you have to have that kind of pass rush threat, a guy who knocks down passes at the line. So, Curt, we'll go just through them real briefly here, just to have these veterans back, just to be able to give yourself a really good foundation on the lines. what do these three coming back give to the Seminoles?
Yeah, I think, I mean, we can start on the offensive line. I mean, these two are two of the anchors. There have been so many new guys they've brought in and through the transfer portal the last few years and things of that sort. But I mean, these two really, and Robert Scott are the guys who kind of have grown with this unit and went from maybe having to play too early relative to when maybe they should have, to kind of growing through that. I mean, you can see that stunt some people. It has not stunted these two. These two grew through being thrown into the deep end at a pretty early in their FSU tenures, and I think they've come out of it. I mean, really good players. I mean, I think for Maurice Smith, it presents a good opportunity where he played through it, but was pretty banged up pretty much all year. I mean, Jordan Travis talked about that a few times. You could see it sometimes. I mean, he was definitely less than 100%. And Darius Washington, I mean, getting back a first-team All-ACC offensive lineman is a big deal. On the other side, I think Patrick Payton's an even bigger deal. I mean, obviously, he's the one of these three who, when the portal window opened right after the ACC championship game, it would have been announced he was entering the portal. He never officially entered. He had deleted the tweet within 24 hours and obviously is not going anywhere. But considering, I mean, you're losing both your starting defensive tackles, your other end in Jared Verse, and three linebackers, I mean, it felt like you needed, I mean, you'd be replacing your entire front seven, essentially, if you didn't return Pat Payton. And I think it's a big deal. I mean, obviously, I think he could make himself some money next year by playing and not having Jared Verse on the other side. Now, I think we both think they're going to add through the portal to have some great options to go against him to improve the rotation there and at tackle. But, I mean, it wasn't the most impactful game throughout in the Orange Bowl for Pat Payton, but he did, I mean, against a largely intact Georgia line, have that strip sack early in the game. Wasn't able to recover it, but, I mean, he could make himself some money next year. So I think a smart choice to stay where he is and to run it back.
I think what we've seen, a theme of what Battle's End has done in this last, say, 14 calendar months, it's been talent retention. And if you don't feel like you're ready for the NFL, it's good to stay in college. It's good to work toward your degree, obviously. It's good to develop yourself as a football player and to improve your draft stock. All these guys got their draft evaluations in December. They all know where they stand in the eyes of a select few, say, coaches, GMs, personnel types who give those evaluations. So for those three to have this chance to come back, it's a big opportunity for them, and good work out of Battle's End. And of course, the Florida State community for stepping up there. We saw Battle's End got a number of new donors. I think Curt passed 5,000 after the snub. So obviously the community is stepping up and really shaping the future of Florida State football and continue what Mike Norvell's done here. Well, hey, more stories on the Osceola.com. Curt's going to have a scholarship tracker kind of breaking down where things stand. As we mentioned, there's still going to be a lot of movement here. Players making decisions. Are they coming back or not? The transfer portal will close on January 2nd, but that doesn't mean you have to make your decision by January 2nd. So you can see some visits coming in the coming week or so. Lots of activity. If you're curious about some little things, we've got some nuggets here and there throughout our stories, but a lot of these freshmen early enrollees will be arriving on campus on Wednesday. Classes will be starting the following week. So a lot of things are happening here as football never really goes to sleep except for July, it seems like. Football will be very active. We'll be covering it all on the Osceola.com. So check us out. Subscribe to the Osceola. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We appreciate you watching. Again, a short edition of the Osceola Seminole Sidelines. We hope you have a great new year. Enjoy the college football playoff games if you choose to watch. Enjoy your time on the recliner or sofa. But we hope you've had a great holiday season. For Curt Weiler, I'm Bob Ferrante. Thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.